Praise the Lord. I have a two-part program. One is the life class. I'm going to give the life class. And then I'm going to also look at marriage questions. Praise the name of the Lord. The title of our life class is The Role of Communication in Marriage. The role of communication in marriage. And I will encourage us to please jot down, make some notes. The role of communication in marriage is going to be our life class. And let me take our questions now. Just read it for us so that we can be, digesting it in our head. Are there situations, question number 1, are there situations in which it will be difficult or even impossible to forgive? What can help a Christian to forgive his or her spouse? That's the first question. And then the second question will be, what should a Christian woman look for in her choice of a husband? So before we go to the questions, let's take the life class. The role of communication in marriage. Praise the name of the Lord. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. Praise the name of the Lord. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. It says, "Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupt good manners." Let's also look at Colossians chapter 3, verse 8. It reads, "But now ye also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth." The last verse we're going to read is Colossians 4, verse 6. It says, "Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man." Praise the name of the Lord. In marriage, there are 3 issues that cause problems. All issues in marriage, you can aggregate them to 3 legs, which has to do with finance, money. Money matter causes problem in the home. The other one that causes problem in the home is sex. Sex causes problem in the home. And the third leg is communication. Communication. So those are the 3 legs. So if you look at problems in the family, you can aggregate them to belong to one of these 2 or a combination of those 2. One of these 3 or a combination of those 3. So all problems in the home virtually can be derived from those 3 or in combination. Praise the name of the Lord. And know that all this must be done under the umbrella of the Bible. Whether it is finance, whether it is sex, whether it is communication, the Bible must be our basis. Now, what is communication? Communication involves, 2 people talking to themselves, either visually or by voice or otherwise. So you must have a message, you must have a giver, and you must have a receiver. For example, if I'm talking to my wife, I'm the giver of the message. Whatever I'm saying is the message, and also you have her being the receiver. I can also use eye sign to talk to my wife. Because we have lived for so long, I can make some signs, maybe with my eyes or with my hand, and she will understand what I mean or what I'm talking about. So communication can be done in that way. Couple must ensure that there is no communication gap between them at all times. In your home, you must make sure that at all times you don't have communication gap. For example, If I'm told my wife I'm going to Ikeja, for instance, and I got on the way, and then there's a change in my plan. Maybe I saw, maybe I'm a business person, I saw the business guy, I said there's a business in Ekpe. I told my wife I'm going to Ikeja, but on the way, genuinely, there's a business and I want to go to Ikeja or Ekpe this time. Yeah? Now, I have to tell my wife, because if I don't tell her, she would think I went to Ikeja while I'm going to Ekpe. So at all times, you must ensure there is no communication gap between you and your spouse. Very, very important. Very, very important. Now, know the following. Where there is no communication, there is no information. If there is no communication, of course, there is no information. If you don't have information, there is no understanding. Information brings understanding. Information brings understanding. Maybe as a man, you want to go to the kitchen, go and take food in the kitchen, you don't tell your wife. You go and take something else that your wife didn't plan. That is lack of communication. You must tell her you are going to the kitchen to pick something, or preferably tell her to give you. Praise the name of the Lord. So, no communication, no information. And no information, there is no understanding. And where there is no understanding, there is no love. And where there is no love, there is no relationship. Somebody wrote a book and said, everything is about relationship. Husband and wife, relationship. Man and God, relationship. Brother and sister, relationship. Uncle and auntie, relationship. So everything in life is about relationship. And relationship must be handled with utmost care. It's like a baby born, a new baby born. You don't handle a baby anyhow because it's delicate. If you mismanage the relationship, then you can cause problem in the house. Praise the name of the Lord. And you must choose the right time for relationship. You must choose the right time for communication and making your information known to your spouse. Praise the name of the Lord. And both parties must create and spend time. There is no question of I don't have time. Praise the name of the Lord. In marriage, there is no issue that I don't have time. You must find time to talk to your spouse. You must find time to communicate with your spouse. You must find time to listen to your spouse. Praise the name of the Lord. And communication must be at the right time. For instance, a woman wants something from her husband, and then the husband has been complaining that, in the office sometimes you have a rough day in the office. Maybe your bosses have kicked you left, right, and center, and you have been telling your wife, and then suddenly you come home. What you expect is your wife should sympathize with you. How was the day? I hope you resolve that problem. And it's that time she will tell you that she needs a judge for one party. Is that the right time? Of course not. So when you communicate, communication must be at the right time. And you must learn to develop a pleasant voice. When I was a little boy, there's a song that we used to sing in the choir. Kind words can never die, never die, never die. Kind words can never die, no, never die. You must use kind words, pleasant words. Let your speech be with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye know how you ought to answer every man. And our sisters, please, when you want to talk to your husband, don't go and use hard voice. Use voice that is offensive. You must learn to use good voice. Yeah, and then be clear and specific. When you want to make a comment or request, you must be clear, very clear and specific. So that your spouse knows exactly what you are saying. You don't say something in parables and making it look difficult for him or her. And then you must understand the matter before you speak or take action. Be a good listener. Be a good listener. In those days, I remember there was a course I went for when I was still in service. The director of the course just said, everybody keep quiet. Listen. Just keep quiet. Listen. And for like 15 minutes, he was telling us to listen. Everywhere was quiet. He was trying to teach us that we should learn to listen. To be very candid with you, there are few people who know how to listen to others. So we must learn to listen. Information should flow freely. You mustn't hide any information from your spouse. Yeah, there is no secret. You must be sincere, you must be honest, you must be mutual, and there must be openness. There must be openness in communication. Praise the name of the Lord. Let's look at some benefits of good communication between spouses. It's not only in spouses, so even singles, you also need good communication. When you are courting, those of us that advise, counsel, prospective would-be husbands and wives, you must also know how to talk to your potential husband. Maybe you are courting. You don't use hard, harsh, offensive, destructive words. Those are not helpful. Now, let's look at some benefits of communication between spouses. What do you gain when you do good communication? It reduces friction and misunderstanding. A lot of problems in the house is a result of friction. When you communicate well, it reduces friction. Maybe if you used to have 10 say, friction in a week, you may reduce it to 2. And the less friction you have in the house, the better for you, the better for your family, the better for two of you, the happier you are in your home. Praise the name of the Lord. Another benefit is it enhances communication to shared goals. For instance, if you have somebody who confides in you, he talks to you freely, he talks to you sincerely, honestly all the time, you are bound to be closer to him. You are bound to confide in him, you are bound to trust him. And in the home, trust is very essential. Any marriage you don't have trust, just forget it. If there is no trust in a marriage, just forget it. Praise the name of the Lord. So also, it increases loyalty to both sides, on both sides, especially for our wives. Our wives want to see somebody who is loyal, our ladies, Like we said the other time, more often than not, it's what you sow in the woman is what you get. If you sow good, you get good. If you sow otherwise, you get otherwise. Praise the name of the Lord. And then it contributes to decision making decisions. Don't just make decision and you veto it. Once upon a time, in those days, I think I was in Warrior at the time, I have a young guy, one of my proteges, and he says he used to tell his wife that he's the supreme commander of the home. When he came to me, I said, please, don't say that again. There's nothing like supreme commander in the home. Because if you go and be telling the woman you're supreme commander, she will tell you to, I'm the controller of supreme commander. It's often said, men rule the world, but women control the men that rule the world. So who is ruling the world? Praise the name of the Lord. So if you say you are ruling the world, the women control the men that rule the world. Just check history. So don't go and tell your wife I'm the supreme, you don't tell her I'm the supreme commander. It's a shared, it's mutual understanding. Praise the name of the Lord. And then it creates positive image for the couple. It creates positive image for two of you when you have good communication. People come to you and they say these are happy people, they are good people, and all that and all that. Praise the name of the Lord. Hindrances to communication in the family. One is resentment. When you have resentment, and maybe you have offended your spouse and it stays away from you, then to communicate becomes difficult. Poor self-image. Sometimes fear. Some men instill fear into their wives or vice versa. And then you say, I don't know what I will tell this man now, or I don't know what I will tell this woman. So there should be no fear in the home. Anger and criticism also hindrance to communication in marriage. Oversensitivity is another one. Failure to create time. At the risk of repeating myself, you must create time to talk to your spouse. There is nothing like I don't have time. You must find time. You may not have time at a particular moment, but you must find time to talk about issues that your spouse wants to talk about. Another hindrance is impatience. Argument also is bad. And then some bad attitudes. Some spouses have bad attitudes. And then fault finding. Some people are good at finding fault every time. That is not good. In conclusion, there is always room for improvement in every marriage relationship. There's always room for improvement. And that's the room that cannot be filled by anybody. The only person who can fill that room is the dead man. When the man is dead or the woman is dead, you cannot do any other thing. But there's always room for improvement. And good communication plays a key role. Somebody summarized marriage. A perfect marriage. He said a perfect marriage is just two imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. A perfect marriage is just two imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. And that brings us to the end of the life class. I hope we are going to ask questions. So let me now read the questions again. We are finished with the life class. Let me now read the question which I said before. Are there situations in which it will be difficult or even impossible to forgive? The Bible tells us how many times do you forgive a day? 70 times 7. 70 times 7 is what? 490. If you have forgiven anybody 490 times a day since you were born, please raise up your hand. I have not. I have not. I'm well over 60 years, well over, but I have not. But if you have forgiven anybody 490 times a day, please raise up your hand. Maybe we have an award for you. A holiday to space. You send you on holiday to space. So you must always forgive. In fact, forgiveness is central in marriage. You have no choice. You must forgive, I must forgive, I must forgive. Praise the name of the Lord. What can help a Christian to forgive his or her spouse? Well, a Christian, you have already been commanded to forgive. God says you forgive 70 times 7 a day. And like Ecclesiastes tells us, he said, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. What's the conclusion of the whole matter? To do what? Number 1, fear God. And 2, keep his commandments. So that's the whole duty of man. The question says, what can help a Christian? If you're a Christian, then you should obey God's commandment. And you are home and dry. Pray the name of the Lord. And then what should a Christian woman look for in choice of a husband? Let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 16. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7. I will read. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. So our young sisters who are praying for God to give them a spouse, well, you must look inward spiritually. First of all, you must pray. You must not look at how many cars he has, or how many houses he has, or whatever. You must look at him. First of all, he has to be a Christian, a committed Christian. I have a case of a sister. As a young, nice sister, of course, people will be coming around. And one young man if he wants 100 naira, the young man will give him 200. If he wants 200, give him 400. But he has no time. Then another young man came, and this one may not have as much, but he was religious, he was Christian-minded. Of course, he went for that one. Praise the name of the Lord. So we'll now take our questions. I think we'll have a few minutes more. Questions, please. Let's take a few questions. If you don't take questions, then I know I haven't spoken well. If you don't take questions, it's just confirmation that I haven't spoken well. And I will not like to feel that way. So questions, please, to encourage ourselves. Yes, sister.
Praise the Lord. My question is on area of sex in marriage. What of if in that moment one party is not ready for it.
Praise the name of the Lord. Remember, I said the rule of communication in marriage. The rule of communication in marriage. So, we just mentioned sex as an aside. Well, just to answer your question, there has to be a mutual agreement. In all things you do in your home, not only in sex, in everything, there has to be a mutual agreement. It makes life easier. Praise the name of the Lord. Questions, please. Any more questions? Well, thank God for the spirit of understanding. I pray that the good Lord will help us, that the bit we have shared this morning, it shall be useful for us in our homes, in the name of Jesus. Praise the name of the Lord. Let's take single prayer points. Oh